Goblin shark can shoot its entire jaw forward about a foot outside its head.
Bro! Yo, it just popped out its dentures, man. It's like, oh, let me just, pull out my... Dude, it took its grandma jaws of death and slurped that fish. Let's have a replay on that. We have Spinosnack, and this one is The Deeper You Go, the creepier Prehistoric Oceans Get.
Prehistoric Ocean wasn't just dangerous. It was a liquid horror show where nightmare creatures...
Liquid horror show?
...with giant eyes stalked through eternal darkness. And some of these monsters are still alive today. Look, we think the ocean today is scary, which, fair enough, it's got great whites and giant squids and whatever else is down there that we haven't found yet. But prehistoric oceans, those were on a whole different level of...
Yeah, no, guys, this is like Subnautica in real life. No, for real.
...that sunlight gave up trying to reach you about half a mile ago. The pressure would crush you instantly. And in this pitch black, bone-crushing void...
Wait, are we talking about the submarine that went down to the Titanic? Too soon, you guys. Way too soon.
See, back then, the deep ocean was where evolution went completely off the rails. No sunlight meant no plants, so everything down there had to get creative about dinner.
Jeez.
Some grew massive eyes to catch the tiniest hint of light. These weren't just random monsters that showed up for a few million years and...
Why does that thing have fucking nose? Flap? A boat sail as a nose.
So for every horrifying prehistoric sea monster that we found, there's probably a dozen that we never even know existed. Like, imagine there are 12 creatures.
That's AI. That's AI. Bro. Oh, okay, it says fictional creature. I was gonna say, what in the liminal space monster is this?
Out there, even more terrifying than the megalodon. Giant eyes staring through eternal darkness. Teeth that don't fit in mouths. Things that have... Each eyeball was 9 inches across.
9 inches, ayo.
Thinking, oh, big eyes, so what? Well, those massive eyes weren't just for looking pretty. They were for seeing in complete darkness while diving deeper than most nuclear submarines go today.
It was just a little void fish. Bro, it was just like, I'm just gonna swim around in the darkness. I'm gonna do my thing.
Apparently, diving into the abyss to hunt tentacled monsters was a popular career choice back then.
No, the tentacles! We all know what happens to the anime girls.
Waters, using those precision-guided eyes to pick off glowing lanternfish and squid, it wasn't fast enough to chase down big prey in broad daylight, so it just waited until dark and became the ocean's first serial killer. And get this, it lived in Japan. So while T-Rex was stomping around on land, the waters off prehistoric Japan were being stalked by this small, precise killer, picking off...
I wonder what made it possible for it to have those forward-facing eyes versus, one on each side, essentially.
Viperfish have teeth so long they stick out of their mouth even when it's closed. These aren't normal teeth. These are straight up fangs that curve back toward the eyes because there's literally nowhere else for them to go. This fish has been perfecting it.
What that mouth do? Look at the way that it just unhinges its jaw. Do not whatever this fish is.
Its nightmare look for 15 million years, and honestly, it nailed it on the first try. The teeth are so big that if a human had proportional fangs, they would be dragging on the ground while
Mama
you
will
walked.
always...
They evolved a built-in...
I should call her as Crazy Fang. Crazy.
The first bone behind their head is basically a shock absorber that keeps their brain from turning into soup every time they spear something. And the best part, they do this while glowing. Viperfish have lights all along their belly to camouflage themselves from below, and a little fish lure on...
Those are little fairy lights on its body. That's kind of cool and aesthetic.
Their back to attract prey from above. So they're basically a floating death trap with a neon sign that says free food here. And they're still doing this today. They've been at it for millions of years, and they're not going to be stopping anytime soon. And they are really scary, but they're not that big compared to the goblin shark, which is also still around today.
This freaking thing. Look at this guy's proboscis. That's a shell. Imagine having a nose that big, my guy. I mean, do other goblin shark females look at this thing and is like, oh yeah, he's got a big nose. He's so hot. Anyway.
The goblin shark looks like someone tried to design a shark, but had only ever had a description from someone who'd never seen one. Pink skin, flabby body, and a snout that looks like it belongs on a different animal entirely. The scary part is what happens when it opens its mouth. The goblin shark can shoot its entire jaw forward about a foot outside its head.
Bro! Yo, it just popped out its dentures, man! It's like, oh, let me just, pull out my... Dude, it took its grandma jaws of death and slurped that fish. Let's have a replay on that. Jarvis.
Their jaw forward.
Bro.
That's not even the scary part.
Retracting jaw who?
The scary part is what happens when it opens its mouth. The goblin shark can
Teeth
shoot its entire jaw forward about a foot outside its head.
He looked like Homer Simpson just then.
Boom. Suddenly, there's a second mouth where no mouth should be.
Yo.
Full of long needle teeth, grabbing whatever was unlucky enough to be nearby. This thing has been doing this exact same strategy for 125 million years. We know this because we keep finding fossil goblin sharks that look exactly the same as the ones swimming around today.
Yeah, denture maxing.
Why would it change? It lives so deep that nothing bothers it. It just floats around in the dark, waiting for something to swim close enough to its face.
Yeah, instead of it being a goblin shark, it should be a goblin shark because it's just goblin and noblin. Do you get dehydrated a lot, need a drink that won't break the bank? Then you should get Gamersupps. They believe in traditional American values, like anime girl guys. It's caffeine-free and caffeinated in 2 kinds of tubs. Gamersupps improved my social life, and now I can stop seeing people in the mirror. Popular flavors include Guacamole Gamer Fart 9000, Sweet 6-Pack, Blowhole Blast, and Sploosh. Use discount ChaCha at checkout for 10% off. Stay hydrated, stay hydrated, stay hydrated.
Then it fires that jaw out and drags dinner back into its mouth. They live so deep and are so rare that most people who study sharks for a living have never even seen a living one. But they're down there right now, drifting through the darkness with their extendable nightmare mouths, doing the exact same.
And their big nightmare noses, except for the ladies. The ladies love those big proboscis, whatever it is. The frilled
sharks look normal until you get up close. Then you realize...
Man, look how happy he is, though. He's happy to be out there swimming in the deeps. I just noticed that he has his little teeths out, like, just jutting out on his, like, tops and bottoms. He a weird little guy.
This thing has 300 teeth.
What? Whoa! Never mind. That's not one set of teeth and a bottom set of teeth. That's a lot of set of teeth. His entire mouth is teeth.
5 rows, and every single one of them is shaped like a tiny trident. When I say tiny, I mean each tooth is still big enough to do some serious damage. Whole. No chewing, no tearing it apart, just straight down the hatch. The really disturbing part is male anglerfish carry around their own personal fishing rod with a glowing lure on the end. They sit perfectly still in total darkness, waving this little light around until something swims over to investigate. Happens when a male anglerfish finds a female. He bites onto her and then never lets go.
Oh, right.
In fact, his mouth fuses to her skin, his blood vessels connect to hers,
and it just
basically
absorbs.
becomes a permanent sperm-producing tumor on the side of her body. This has been going on for 50 million years, by the way. These things are ancient. That was 50 billion.
He loves his big back wife. He loves that big back life.
The male doesn't even have a functioning digestive system once he attaches. He just hangs there, getting all his nutrients from the female's bloodstream, waiting for her to need his services. Some females...
M'lady. And in this case, she's got a whole harem because, she's just a queen like that, What little endearments do you think she whispers to them? Come here, my little beta. Oh yeah, mommy, I like that. Degrade me, mommy. Like, please.
Have multiple males attached at once, which means they're swimming around with several zombie boyfriends grafted to their bodies. Evolution looked at the problem of finding mates in infinite darkness and said, you know what?
Man.
Let's just make all the males into parasites.
There are some women living this life. They used to be independent. They used to. And then they became sperm bank tumors. Dang. Yeah, they had to latch onto their sugar mamas. For real, for real.
Ship in the animal kingdom, and for some reason, both parties seemed completely happy with it. The curator got a phone call about a weird fish that had been caught off the coast of South Africa. She went to look at it and immediately knew she was staring at something that was supposed to be extinct for 66 million years. Scientists have been finding coelacanth fossils for decades, going all the way back to fish that lived 360 billion years ago.
Look at those fangs on those things.
Figured these things died out with the dinosaurs. Turns out they just got really good at avoiding people. And when they finally studied living coelacanths, they found out these fish hadn't bothered to evolve much of anything in all that time. Same weird fins, same weird skulls, and the same weird way of giving birth to live babies instead of laying eggs.
Wait, so they're mammals?
But other ancient creatures took a different approach to survival in the oceans. Imagine walking through a forest where every single tree is actually an animal. Well, they weren't lilies and they weren't plants. They were animals that just happened to look like underwater flowers. Just gonna move deeper.
They're just walking along the floor.
Now we're about to talk about my favorite prehistoric marine reptile, the Abyssosaurus. Abyssosaurus literally means
because it lives in the abyss?
This thing was a plesiosaur that looked at the deep ocean, decided that—
Yo, that's the thumbnail. It's a Lapras. That's a Pokemon.
That's where it wanted to live permanently. It evolved the heaviest bones of any marine reptile ever found. Basically turned its skeleton into a lead vest. It wanted to sink, and it wanted to stay sunk. Down there in the total darkness, it would cruise just above the seafloor with those massive eyes scanning for anything dumb enough to be wandering around in the void. Perfect for darting forward and grabbing squid or fish before they knew what hit them.
Yeah, this is like Nightmare Lapras, dude.
Living a lifestyle that wouldn't be out of place in a horror movie. It literally went to the bottom and then just said, "This is my home now." But further north, things got even weirder in the oceans. Ophthalmothul lived near the Arctic Circle 145 million years ago. Most reptiles would have called that a deal breaker. Ophthalmothul saw it as—
Dude, that's the Loch Ness Monster.
It's a business opportunity. It spent its entire life staring at the surface, waiting for something to swim overhead. Scientists have found rocks in this thing's stomach.
I wonder if that was because, you know, it's basically diving down to try and like get whatever is like near the ocean floor. Either that, or my second guess would be that it needs the rocks to help it digest in its stomach. So either it needed to be a quick hunter and it just swallowed everything whole, or like the rocks are part of a digestive aid.
Long before any of these monsters existed, something made a terrible decision. Trilobites had the best eyes in the ocean for 200 million years. Then some of them looked at the deep ocean and decided to throw all of it away. They now had smooth blank spaces where their amazing eyes used to be. No pupils, no lenses, nothing. They voluntarily became blind and moved into the darkest parts of the ocean. Perfectly good eyes. Then their descendants—
That is Kabuto, the roach of the waters.
It was like something decided that seeing was overrated and crawling around blind on the seafloor was a better lifestyle choice. Obviously, there was an advantage to it. That is the whole point.
That's a butt. You cannot tell me that isn't some like ancient dinosaur who had a big pair of cheeks, who just, you know, wanted to like leave his mark on the world. So he's like, the humans are gonna love this. Leaves a butt print. Yeah.
Point of evolution, where new traits that emerge that are beneficial lead to the species
What happened? Whoa, go back.
surviving.
What the? We're vibing. Go back. That's a butt print.
Advantage to it. That is the whole point of evolution, where new
Could be
traits that emerge
tatas.
that are beneficial lead to the species
You right. It's a roach tata. It's an underwater roach tata. You right.
surviving. So there was a reason. And apparently it worked out pretty well for them because blind trilobites were everywhere in the deep ocean. Today's deep ocean has its own version of unstoppable scavengers that look like creepy bugs. Giant isopods and can go 5 years without eating. 5 years. That is nuts. Maybe years.
That's like an albino grasshopper.
Well, how
That's
good
a bug.
they are at waiting. Most animals would starve to death in a few weeks without food. Giant isopods have turned waiting into an art form until the—
How long do these things live? Why are these like the embodiment of the word temperance?
Scientists found a fossil that looked like someone had bent a giant squid shell into a paperclip and decided that was a perfectly reasonable way to live for 200 years. That's Diplomaceras, and yes, you heard that right. It lived for 200 years.
I've seen this before. This is Clippy from Microsoft. This is the little clip that tells you that, like, you know, the original personal assistant, okay? Now we know where he went. Under the water.
Like a 10-foot tall paperclip.
That's what I was gonna say! This guy! It's
with
Clippy!
tentacles. The shell shape was so weird that when paleontologists first found these fossils, they thought they were looking at multiple different animals that had somehow gotten stuck together. Diplomaceras would float vertically in the water with its head hanging down from the bottom of the U, just hovering there and grabbing whatever swam by. They counted the growth rings in the shell and found 200 of them, which means this thing was already ancient when it was still alive.
It had growth rings, like the rings on a tree, you know, like where trees will gain a ring for every, like, year of life it has. That's interesting. This thing kind of does the same thing with its body,
565 million years ago, before there were fish, before there were any sharks, Charnia was a 2-meter tall feather made of living tissue that had no mouth, no stomach, no eyes, and no way to move. It just stood there on the seafloor, swaying in the current, absorbing nutrients directly through its skin from the surrounding water for tens of billions of years.
That's not a plant. That's like meat. Does that mean that there are, like, predators that eat it since it's, you know, meat?
These things covered the ancient seafloor in vast fields. It left no descendants, thousands of them, all identical, all motionless, all just standing there absorbing chemicals from seawater.
Well, that was that.